very warm welcome to City Breaks, to an episode, in fact, not about a particular city, but a special episode, a one-off, just to give you some updates about the current circumstances and inform you about a little bit of a change of plan, which I'm hoping is going to partly involve you, the listeners. So, two sets of circumstances have collided. One is the fact that we're just about at the end of the Paris series, the last episode's going out tomorrow afternoon. And the other one, of course, is the COVID-19 pandemic, which is making it hard to carry on with the plans that I had in hand. I was all set to move straight on to the lovely Georgian city of Bath and do a series on that, but as you can imagine, the COVID problem has played havoc with that, because although in fact I happen to live quite near to Bath, know it quite well, I haven't been able to do the last few visits that I would like to have done in order to be fully informed and fully up to date. So that by itself requires a bit of a rethink. But there's another reason, and that is that now, 6 cities into the project, I'd like to do a little bit of a change of direction. Definitely going to keep going, picking only cities I think people will love to visit. Definitely going to keep going with all the reading, the background history and cultural information and everything. But I would really, really like to make this a moment when we can start having a little bit more input from those of you who are listening to the podcasts. Haven't done much of that so far, but I'd love to start doing it from now. It'd be great to have your ideas on how we're doing. It'd also be great to have your ideas on cities that you visited and know well, that you might like to share with other people who are listening. So, all of this adds up to the fact that there is a new plan, capital N, capital P. I'm going to do a few interim podcasts rather than starting straight away with Bath, in the hope that I'll be able to get up there a few more times before we start the series proper. And there are going to be a couple of different sorts of interim podcast. Firstly, I'd like to revisit each of the cities that we've already done in depth. I'm aware that there's really lots of information packed into every episode and lots of episodes in every series, so I thought it might make sense to do a one roundup episode just talking about ideas for a day or possibly a weekend in that city. What really are the top things that you would do? Maybe suggestions for a bit of a walking route from one to the other. An idea of the time that you might need to allow for each visit. And a few snippets of cultural information just to spice things up. But I would also very much like to have some episodes where I'm able to run through some of your ideas. Look at cities that people have recommended. Perhaps you can write in and tell me where you'd like to go on your next city break when we're finally all unleashed and allowed to go anywhere. Perhaps it's more that you'd like to tell everyone about somewhere where you've already been and mention why you recommend it. Perhaps give some ideas for what to do there. And if you can sneak in 1 or 2 cultural ideas, that would be really great. So I'm hoping very much that people will get on board with this and that I'll start getting some ideas and feedback from you. Just to summarise, there are various ways in which you can get in touch. You could rate and review the podcast. I think that's more really about saying whether you like it or not. Hopefully you do, and encouraging other people to listen. On that note, actually, if you wanted to give the idea to a friend, that'd be great. Increase our listenership a little bit. But actually, even more useful would be to use one of the 3 ways I'm going to outline where you could send me a message and actually some pictures as well, if you have any to hand, and then we can see at this end what we can do with them. So firstly, you could go onto the website, that's citybreakspodcast.co.uk, and leave a message on the blog. You'll notice there's a blog entry called City Break Ideas. If you click on that, you can write a message. So that would be really good. Leave the name of the city you suggest, perhaps a few details. Something there that you really enjoyed visiting and would like to recommend to others. Perhaps a reason or 2 as well. Alternatively, you can email. Our email address is citybreaks@citybreakspodcast.co.uk. And again, a message would be great. What cities do you recommend? Have you got any pictures? If you have, do send them. Then not only will we be able to put your ideas onto the blog and mention them on the podcast, but we'll also be able to put some of the pictures on the website and whet everybody's appetite for the place that you went to that you think other people would enjoy. Or finally, you can contact us over Twitter using the address @CityBreaksCast. That's cast, C-A-S-T, as in podcast. So there too, info's very welcome, pictures very welcome. I'm hoping by one means or another to receive quite a few of these, then I can put them all together into an episode, or maybe more than one episode, which will leave you with lots of ideas for lovely cities to go and visit and what to see when you get there. That would all be really good, addressing two different issues. What we can usefully do when what was planned is no longer possible, or at least not possible just yet, and also how to tap into that wealth of knowledge that City Break fans will have about places to visit and why, which would be really nice to be shared with other City Break fans. Probably all got ideas that someone else hasn't thought of. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. I'll just finish off by repeating those 3 addresses because it was quite a lot of detail, was it not? So if you want to leave a comment on our blog, that's at citybreakspodcast.co.uk. That's our own website. Click on blog, click on City Break Ideas. If you're more of an email person, the address would be citybreaks@citybreakspodcast.co.uk. And if Twitter's your thing, then you need @citybreakscast. All one word, of course. Well, I'm hoping for an exciting few weeks, getting lots of messages and comments. And meanwhile, I'll just sign off by reminding you that yes, tomorrow is Wednesday, and yes, of course, there'll be another City Breaks episode 22 of Paris, the very last one of the Paris series. It's always a wrench to leave Paris, but then once you get on the train and go, you start thinking, there are other places to visit. Let's have a look at some of those. And actually, we can always come back. Okay, so thanks very much for listening, and I look forward to hearing from you in due course. Be nice to finish with a little bit of foreign, wouldn't it? So let's sign off in true form. Au revoir. Or if you prefer, auf Wiederhören.